Hello, and welcome to our first episode of Aquatic Science Adventures, where we show you fun, educational, and easy aquatic science experiments you can do at home. If you have a child stuck at home during this period of social distancing, we know it can be difficult to figure activities that are engaging, educational, and practical for your young scientist. So we want to help. My name is Katrina, and I am the camp administrator for the Aquatic Science Adventure Camp. Today, from my own backyard, I'm going to introduce an activity I like to call Noodle River. We are going to be making model rivers that can provide lots of educational fun as you float items downstream, race vessels, and make creative river channels. You can use this activity to introduce key hydrology concepts like discharge, how much water is flowing past a specific area in a specific amount of time, velocity, how fast the water is flowing, gradient, the river's slope, and sinuosity, how curvy your river is. We will revisit those terms later. For this activity, you will need 2 or more standard or jumbo-sized pool noodles, duct tape, a water source such as a hose, scissors, knife, or box cutters to cut your noodles, a small floating object such as a leaf or bottle cap, or even a small paper boat, random items from around your yard to support the noodles as you create your stream. Later in the video, we are going to do some science experiments. For those experiments, you are going to want a timer, a measuring tape, ruler, or yardstick, and paper and pencil to make and record observations or make graphs. This activity should be done outside, but if that isn't possible, it can also be done without water by using a marble in place of your leaf or stick. Let's get started. An adult will need to cut each of the pool noodles long ways so that there are 2 symmetrical halves. Repeat this for how many noodles you plan on using for this activity. Next, start taping ends together and select a good location for your construction site. Now you can start constructing your river with items from your backyard. Be sure to keep your river simple to begin with for a few experiments. Pause the video while you have fun with some trial runs, but come back to see how we can use our model river to learn about discharge, velocity, and sinuosity. Now that you have your model river, let's do some experiments. We are going to do 3 separate rounds of experiments. Manipulating our current by changing the slope and adding some twists and turns as we learn about discharge, velocity, and sinuosity. First, what happens when you adjust how much water is coming out of the hose? Are you altering discharge, velocity, or both? Remember, discharge is a measure of how much water is flowing past a specific area in a specific amount of time. And velocity is a measure of how fast the water is flowing. Pause the video while you make some predictions. Got your predictions? Great. Now let's put them to the test. Believe it or not, there are simple ways hydrologists actually measure stream velocity and discharge in the field. Measure discharge by timing how long it takes water pouring out of the end of the river to fill up a bucket or bottle of known volume. Divide the volume of your bucket or bottle by the amount of time it takes to fill it. Again, make sure you record your measurements along with the units such as gallons, quarts, liters, or milliliters per second. Measure velocity by timing how long it takes your boat to travel the length of your river. Divide the length of your river by the amount of time to get a velocity. Make sure to record your measurements and don't forget the units such as inches, feet, centimeters, or meters per second. Replication is an essential part of science, so if you want to be really scientific, complete this experiment multiple times and find an average. Have fun testing your predictions. Pause the video while you measure velocity and discharge while increasing or decreasing how much water is coming out of your hose. Don't forget to discuss how your data reflects your initial predictions. For the next experiment, keep the amount of water coming out of the hose constant as you change the gradient of your river. Gradient is a measure of the slope of a river channel. So by making your model river more or less steep, you are modifying your river's gradient. If you change gradient, will you change discharge, velocity, or both? Measure gradient by dividing total height of your river by the total length. Pause the video while you make some predictions about what happens to velocity and discharge as you change the gradient. Got your predictions? All right, then you know what to do. Put them to the test and go out and measure velocity and discharge as you change the slope of your river. Make sure to record your results for each gradient tested. How did it go? Did your predictions hold up? For our final experiment, take either the same section you just used or another equal length section and add at least one curve to your river channel. Don't try to make your river too sinuous or your noodles will kink, blocking the flow of water. If you keep the amount of water coming out of your hose constant and don't change the gradient, how will increased sinuosity affect discharge and velocity? Pause the video to make some predictions about how sinuosity will affect discharge and velocity. Measuring discharge will be the same as in previous experiments, but to measure velocity, you will have to recalculate the distance your vessel is traveling. Use your measurements from earlier to calculate the new length of your model river. All right, have fun putting your predictions to the test. I hope you had fun learning about velocity, discharge, gradient, and sinuosity today. These ideas have some major real-world implications. Discuss how these concepts might influence human activities like navigation on rivers, generating hydroelectricity, and even engineering for flood control. Can you think of other applications? Next time you're out in the car and you drive over a bridge, think about these concepts and how an actual river compares with your model. Now that you have completed the experiments, be sure to get creative, making an elaborate river with turns and slopes and even loops. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up below and share with your friends. If you have any questions about this activity, please email us at eardc_education@txstate.edu. Thank you for joining us on Aquatic Science Adventures. Have a wet and wild day.